So going into next week, what do I expect? And I'll go down to the 4-hour time frame, and then I'm going to remodify this zone. I'll put this here. Then I'm going to clone this line so that we can taps of that price area. That's why I usually put these lines here. So hopefully price taps properly into that zone before we sell back down into 101.657. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price eventually tapped into that zone properly before selling off massively to the downside. Actually, my target for last week was here, as you can see from the just concluded replay, but price went even further below thanks to the trade war going on right now. And going into next week, what would I like to see? First of all, I want to take you to the weekly time frame. As a matter of fact, let's go to the monthly time frame. Now, guys, I want you to notice something. If you look at DXY, this is the first time in a long time that price has traded this low, right? This is the monthly time frame. So we are talking about how many months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 months, because I started counting from here, right? This was the last time price came this low. And then again, we are here. Though the month is still very much active, we have not even gotten to the middle of the month yet. So anything can still happen. We may still leave a week below here and price goes on to trade above here. But with the current trade war going on, price may just continue lower before maybe it recovers in the future. As a matter of fact, I have a trend line here that has been here for years. And I think if price continues lower, that is where price is aiming for. We've had one touch previously and two, or let me say 2, 3. So hopefully that's where price is coming to, but only time will tell, right? So going into next week, what do we expect? Let's go back to the weekly time frame. I want to show you something on the weekly time frame. So on the weekly time frame, if I even move further left, you will notice that this area served as an area of resistance previously. If I extend this to the left, you will see that resistance level here, also around here. So guys, price is sitting down there. No wonder we saw the rejection that we saw towards the end of last week. So we want to be wary of this zone also. If we're going to continue lower, price has to break below that zone, right? Now I'll go back to the 4-hour time frame. So now that we've pinpointed that zone from the weekly time frame, guys, going into next week, I'm still bearish, of course, but I would like to see a pullback into 101.653 and 101.261 area before we sell off again, or for price to just continue lower and break below 99.097, then go for a pullback before we sell to the downside. All right, so either of these two is what I would like to see play out, but I'm guessing maybe price may want to go for a little pullback before the sell-off, because we have an unfilled gap here. So let's see how that plays out. At least going into next week, you now know the two areas to look for selling pressure from on DXY. And if DXY is bearish, then EURUSD will be bullish, GBPUSD will be bullish, and so on and so on, right? So let's go to EURUSD. Looks like the pullback is complete. As you can see, price went on, created a new higher high, came back for the pullback, and looks like it is going to continue higher until we come into 1.12001 area. Welcome back, guys. So on EURUSD, you can see how price continued higher last week into our target of 1.12001 and even went beyond that, right? And if I go to the weekly time frame, there's this long-standing resistance that price just broke out from, as you can see here. As a matter of fact, let me take you to the monthly time frame, just like I did on DXY. Now you will notice that at some point we created a new lower low, making us think that we're going to keep trading to the downside, right? And then now it looks like we are creating a new higher high in a market that has ranged for years. Go do your findings. So it's a very, very volatile market right now at the moment. But let's break things down. Let's demystify things. It doesn't mean we can't take advantage of this, right? So on the weekly time frame, this area is an area of resistance that has been respected multiple times historically. All right, and now we are back there. So what's going to happen? So now I would like to, just like I did on DXY, I would like to either buy from here which is 1.12283 and 1.11965 area, or I will buy above the 1.15237 area. All right, so see that price pulls back into this region below to buy, or breaks above and continue higher. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame to put things into perspective. So on the 4-hour time frame, I'm looking for price to most likely pull back into this area before we take off, or for price to break above 1.15237. All right, and then we are going to continue trading to the upside into new highs, which will be 1.8989. all right, so either way, I'm looking for bullish movements around 1.12283 and 1.11965 area before we push higher, or for price to break above 1.15237 before we continue higher. All right, so those are where I'm looking for bullish price action on Euro USD going into next week. The next on my list is GBP USD. So going into next week on GBP USD, there are two areas I'll be looking for sells from. Number one, for price to break below 1.28600, creating a new lower low. Then I'll drop back down to the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour time frame. Look for confirmations when price completes its pullback. Stop loss above 1.28937, TP at 1.27767. all right, welcome back, guys. Last week I was more bearish than bullish. Would you blame me? I saw this massive drop and I expected price to continue lower, and that was why I was bearish bias, right? Though it was even a short one. And as you can see, price played out as anticipated. See how price broke below, went back for the retest before making its way back down into our bearish target. It was a short one before price took off. All right, so now going into next week on GBP USD, let's look at what we look like on the weekly time frame. So we can see that, hey, on the weekly time frame, simple market structure has played out. Price went on, created a new higher high, breaking above here, came back, retested that zone, and now it looks like we are going to continue trading to the upside. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame and see what we should be looking out for going into next week. So as it looks right now, it looks like price has broken out, come back for the retest, and it's looking set to jump to the upside. So going into next week, my bullish target is 1.32377 on GBP USD. The next on my list is gold. So going into next week, what do we expect? So I think gold is coming back here before we either go bullish. So welcome back, guys. You can see how price came into that our target and then took off to the upside. So going into next week, what do we expect? Let's look at the 4-hour time frame. Meanwhile, let me delete all of this. So it's pretty simple. Where is the recent area that price just broke out from? That recent area happens to be here. All right, so going into next week, I'll be expecting a pullback, or let me put it this way, I'll like to see a pullback. For those that are not in this trade yet, I would like to see a pullback into the 3152.847 and 3107.312 area before we take off. As a matter of fact, I expect gold to keep trading to the upside with the US tariff and all of those stuff. There's a lot of volatility in the market, and many people tend to move their funds into safe havens like gold. All right, so gold is a safe haven asset, so no wonder it keeps creating new highs. All right, so going into next week, if price initially pulls back, then I'd like to see it come into these areas before we take off for a good 2-to-1. You guys already know how I love 2-to-1. So gold going into next week is simple and straightforward. So I'll look at another safe haven currency in this current tariff brouhaha going on at the moment, right? So the Swiss franc has also shown once again that it is a safe haven currency. All right, you can see how it has been dominating the US dollar. So going into next week, it is a good pair to look at. All right, so going into next week is simple. Price has been tanking. We've created series of lows and all of that. So going into next week, I would like to see a pullback into the 0.84527 and 0.83665 area before we continue dropping to the downside. That is if we have an initial pullback, because this bearish move is so strong that a pullback may be unlikely. All right, but on the 4-hour time frame, I'll recommend you plot your trend line from this first touch, second touch, and then anticipate a third touch which falls within our zone, our pullback zone, and the 0.6 fib level. All right, so if price gives us that initial pullback, then I'd like to see a drop off from there into 0.79130 area on USDCHF, right? Then the last on my list for this week is USDJPY. So I've not analyzed USDJPY for a while now. Last week I wanted to analyze it, but time was already against me, and it ended up being a good trade because I wanted to see that pullback come into here, then sell into here, which actually played out, which I took personally on my own trade and all of that. So, but going into next week, what will I like to see before taking a sell trade, because I took profit around here last week? So going into next week to rejoin this sell trade, I'd like to see a pullback into the 144.73 and 1.45.560 area. If price decides to go for an initial pullback, then I'd like to see a sell from the stop loss above 145.560 area, and then bearish target is 140.752. Why? Because on the weekly time frame, you can see that that's where price is targeting. As you can see, this is the next major swing points that price had reacted to in the past. All right, so thanks for watching till the very end, and I wish you a successful trading week, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye guys.